Today's episode is a short solo episode where I'm going to share some tips for anyone in the agency leadership team who wants to help their account managers grow the existing business. And I've given 2 talks in the last couple of weeks on this topic, and it seems to have resonated with agency leaders. So I hope this is going to be useful, because what's become clearer to me since I first started training account managers in how to grow business in 2016 is that it's not just about the account manager's mindset and skill set, but also it's about the support that's given to them, both individually by the agency leadership team and also having the right agency support systems in place to help them be successful. So there are probably around 11 points that I want to make or give to you as a bit of a checklist of things that perhaps you could evaluate for yourselves to see whether you're covering it in your agency. And they're grouped into 3 key areas. The first area is commercial context. The second is internal processes. And then the third area is risk management. So let's dive into the points. So the point 1, and this is within commercial context, it's ensuring that the account manager is co-creating the forecast with you, and having the commercial context of what you're looking to achieve as a business to grow the business and what your target is for growing existing business. So in order to create a realistic forecast, there's nothing worse for the account manager than to be given a target with no context. And preferably, the account manager can also sit with you to say, right, where are we at? What have we been billing for the last couple of years? How much do we know about the client's business and how much we can help? And co-creating a plan and a strategy for what you could be doing differently with that client. Because often the account manager knows a lot more about the business, the day-to-day business, than the agency leadership team. So, for example, during a conversation, the account manager may find out that their client contact has decided to take a sabbatical, or they're going on mat leave. Now, if with that client you've only got that one touch point, or that's the biggest relationship you have, the best relationship you have, then that account could be in jeopardy. So your original plan to grow that account in the forecast of, spending the same as they did last year with you could be in jeopardy. So my first point is involve your account manager in your forecasting as much as possible. Because believe it or not, a lot of account managers come on my Account Accelerator training program, which is all about growing existing business, without that context. They're not part of the forecasting process. Some of them don't even see the forecast. So that's point 1. The point 2 is also making sure that there's a real focus on internal training on the services the agency provides, and a clear understanding of what pain that service actually solves for the client. And it could be that you share case studies for the account manager, so that the account manager can spot the opportunities where a service could be needed, and it helps them start the conversation with the client around how your agency services can help. So some internal training on your range of services and products and how they solve client challenges, so that allows the account manager proficiently to talk to clients about the full spectrum of services you provide. And obviously, the closer the account manager gets to the client business, the more that they can maybe spot opportunities for you to create new solutions for clients. So that's number 2. Number 3 is also giving the account manager an understanding of who are your priority clients. So carrying out some kind of categorization process, so that you are identifying which clients You want to invest the time and effort to come up with more solutions, be more focused on their market, their business, their objectives, they're tackling their challenges. And it allows the account manager to be laser focused, because not every client in your portfolio deserves to be grown. You know, you probably can think of a couple of clients that maybe you've outgrown as a business, or maybe they just don't fit the ideal client profile that you have. So making sure that for your account manager, you're being really clear about who are the growth potential clients and where their efforts should be focused. So those 3 points relate to commercial context. The second category of points that I want to make is having an internal process. So the first point is to have regular internal client growth meetings. And this is particularly relevant if you have account managers who have a hybrid role. So they're playing the project management role and the account management role. And let's face it, when push comes to shove, when things get busy, the account manager will always default to the project management side of their role, which is to get the projects delivered on time, on budget. They're not able to sit back and think, what else could we be suggesting? You know, let's do a bit of research about the client's business. Let's uncover some of the challenges so that we can come up with the right solution. That takes time and effort. So having a regular internal team client growth meeting means you collectively, and pulling on all the resources within the agency, have an opportunity to identify the additional ways that you can have value and the additional value you can create for your clients. So it just supports the account manager if you're bringing the team together in more of a formal way, and ultimately you get everyone around the table and say, okay, where are we at with the client? What do we know about their goals, challenges, and what do we think is most relevant to suggest next? And coming out of that, my second point is to have an account development plan. So the plan should be simply to capture the outputs of that meeting and the actions so that everyone is kept accountable for making growth happen. Too often I see account growth initiatives are kind of a nice to have when the whole team is so busy delivering projects. But by having a plan of action, then it makes sure that it actually happens and that you can move those steps forward. And then the third point about internal processes is providing one-on-one support to your account manager. You know, sometimes the job of being an account manager is hard enough as it is, let alone when you're feeling quite lonely and out there on your own without anyone taking an interest. We have a bit of a culture, I think, in agencies of celebrating new pitch wins. You know, when we win that new logo, everyone rejoices. But we don't tend to do this for winning net new projects from existing clients, which is the remit of the account manager. So having that one-on-one support, check-in with your account manager to check, you know, what are you focused on? What's your plan of action? And then identifying where they've been successful, even if it's to move a conversation forward, you know, make sure that those milestones are celebrated and that you're giving positive feedback to encourage the account manager to do more of that. And the fourth point that I wanted to make on internal processes is to have measurable, action-based rather than outcome-based KPIs. Account managers really need to know what specific actions they need to take to move the agency towards the account growth outcome. If the behaviors are right and the actions are taken correctly, then ultimately you're increasing the likelihood of success. But ultimately you can't control the final outcome. So consistent effort can still be recognized and rewarded if you have these, what I call behavioral KPIs. And I'll give you an example. An outcome-based KPI is grow this account by 15% this year, right? Behavioral KPIs are things like holds conversation about future work with the client, conducts quarterly strategy session with the client, where new opportunities are uncovered. So it's breaking it down into actionable actions that the account manager can take, and you can then measure their success, their progress, which are a lot easier to track and ultimately more successful, because it almost becomes like a checklist of things that the account manager needs to do, rather than this nebulous outcome-based KPI, which, quite frankly, you can't control it. Because let's go back to the previous example. Let's suppose, you've got increased this by 15% this year. And like I said, the key point of contact goes on maternity leave unexpectedly or resigns. All of a sudden, everything's up in the air. And then the third category of points when it comes to supporting your account managers with account growth is this section is called risk management. So the first point of risk management is spreading the relationship risk through having multiple points of client contact, so that the entire account isn't predicated on one individual at the client organization, and also one point of contact at the agency. And this is another scenario that I see when I meet account managers. They only have this one point of contact. Typically, when you win a piece of business for the first time, the more senior client stakeholders tend to be involved at that stage, because they're making a decision ultimately on, which supplier to choose. But as time goes on, those senior stakeholders can disappear. And it really makes it harder if you want to talk about growth and identifying client challenges and adding the value, because sometimes those junior clients aren't tasked with adding value to their business. They're more of holding one budget that they have been mandated to stick to. So they're not really decision makers. So spreading the relationship risk by identifying who those people are in the decision-making process that we should have relationships with, and whether that's the account manager or other members of the team, to make sure that you have multiple client contacts. The second point is staying close enough to the client's business that you understand what they're trying to achieve as business, their objectives, their goals, their challenges. And this is by working both upstream and downstream. Downstream, I mean having status meetings, monthly reporting meetings, project update meetings. But upstream touch points is about you involving yourself in their yearly planning process, or having quarterly strategy sessions where you're bringing new ideas. So really making sure that you can spot more easily opportunities to add value and provide relevant ideas, because you are working with the client in a more upstream manner. You understand what they're trying to achieve as a business. The third point on risk management is providing additional resource when the account manager closes additional work that's ultimately going to initially stretch the team. And this is something that I found that account managers feel, if they're busy enough, they may be thinking, well, I'm busy enough as it is, even though I can spot that there's an opportunity here, maybe for another service we could be providing to the client. I know that I'm going to end up having extra workload, and I'm just not going to mention anything. And that might sound a bit controversial, but it's the truth. So they need the reassurance in the background from the agency leadership team that if you spot these opportunities for us to provide additional services, do extra projects, solve extra challenges for the client, we will provide you with the resource. We will support you in this. It's not always going to come down to your workload. We will support you either by hiring additional people really quickly. Might not be easy to do that, but maybe you have freelancers that you can pull in to support them. And this also is where account managers think about how busy their team is. So if they spot an opportunity to come up with a new idea for a client, but they know their teammates need to be involved in that process and they're too busy, again, they don't want to bother them. So it's that support you can give as an agency leader to reassure them, we're going to be there, we're going to be supporting you. All I need you to do is to spot the opportunities by having the conversations, by doing your research, by having these internal meetings. So we will support you in that. And then the final point is ensuring your account managers understand how to spot what I call a red flag moment. And this is essentially scenarios where the client account is at risk. So it could be that the client has said they're going on mat leave again, or they're leaving the business, or there's a change of leadership, change of CEO. An agency I know who had 40% of their overall revenue with one particular big client, big whale client, they hadn't really had any relationship with procurement, for example, of note. And procurement typically stay close to what's going on at the leadership level. And perhaps they would have had more of a heads up that there was a change of CEO. And the first thing a CEO does, they want to come in and make their mark. And they might want to save money or make money very quickly for the organization. And oftentimes they will look at their supplier list to think, how can we make cost savings here? Where are we doubling up? And the agency was actually presented out of the blue with an RFI, request for information, request for pitch, RFP. And they had to re-pitch for the business, having had the business for 2 to 3 years. And as I say, it was 45% or 40% of the overall agency revenue. So you want to be anticipating those moments. So create a checklist of all the things you want the account managers to keep abreast of, so that they are potentially on the front foot and can take the correct action as a result of any potential red flag moment. So I hope you enjoyed those points. So just to recap, we covered points relating to providing commercial context, to having internal processes in place, and also risk management. I hope that was helpful. And finally, if you are an account manager, or you have an account manager or account director or client services director in your team who you want to provide the mindset and the skill set to grow the existing business, then we will be opening applications to come on the Account Accelerator program next year, which is going to be a year-long program. We're kicking off in January 2024, and you'll be working with me for a year. And we have an initial 9-week period where we give you all the training, all the strategies, a toolbox of different ways that you can grow your business. And then you will also receive the support from me to implement. You'll also join a group on Slack with other peer group and other account managers, and account directors, group account directors, client services directors, who are all doing the same thing. So if you're interested, then please contact me on LinkedIn or send me an email at jenny@accountmanagementskills.com, or go to my website, accountmanagementskills.com, and have a look at my Account Accelerator program. And we'll be updating the website very, very soon with a full page of all the learning outcomes that you can expect to achieve. And I'm really excited about working with a community of account management to help them with growing your existing accounts.